So, how does a band from South Korea singing almost entirely in Korean become the biggest musical act on the entire planet? It sounds impossible, right? Well, today we're digging into the incredible story of BTS, a group that didn't just climb the charts, they completely rewrote the rulebook for global pop stardom. Let's get into it. You know things are serious when Time magazine gets involved. In 2019, they put BTS on their cover, calling them the princes of pop. And listen, this was way more than just a catchy headline. It was a coronation. People in the industry were already making these wild comparisons to the Beatles. For a lot of people, this was the moment it became totally undeniable. BTS was a global phenomenon. But that just brings up the big question, doesn't it? How did this actually happen? I mean, how did 7 guys from a small, pretty unknown company in South Korea become a cultural force that could go toe-to-toe with music legends? Well, that's exactly what we're here to break down. To really get it, we've got to go back, way back, before the sold-out stadiums, before the massive award shows. The story really starts with their name, a tiny company and a pretty powerful idea. It all kicks off with their original Korean name, Bangtan Sonyeon. Now, that translates to Bulletproof Boy Scouts. And from day one, that wasn't just some cool-sounding name. It was a mission statement. The whole idea was that they would be a shield, blocking out all the unfair criticism and crazy expectations, the bullets that society fires at young people. And make no mistake, these guys were the definition of underdogs. They were put together by BigHit Entertainment, a company that was nowhere near the powerful Big Three agencies that basically ran the K-pop world. They had to hustle for everything. After they debuted in 2013, they were so hungry to build a fan base that by 2014, they were literally in West Hollywood handing out flyers on the street for their own free concert. So yeah, that grassroots hustle was a huge part of it. But the real secret sauce, the thing that really set them apart, was their message. This was never just slick, manufactured pop music. It was personal, it felt authentic, and it created this unbreakable bond with their audience. And you can hear it straight from member Suga himself. He said their goal was to voice the things their generation was feeling, but maybe couldn't say out loud. The pain, the anxiety, the worries. They weren't singing about fancy cars or endless parties. They were trying to create real empathy. And that became the very foundation of their music. A perfect example of this is their School trilogy. This was a series of albums they put out early on that took a really direct, hard look at the insane pressure young people face, especially in the super competitive South Korean school system. And look, the stuff they were singing about was stuff that a lot of mainstream music just wouldn't touch. They were talking openly about mental health, about the crushing weight of your parents' expectations, about being told to give up on your dreams for a safe job. This brutal honesty created a fiercely loyal fan base who, for the first time, felt like someone actually saw them and understood what they were going through. And that loyal fan base, who we all now know as ARMY, they quickly turned into a global force. They were passionate, they were organized, and they were about to launch BTS from underdogs straight into the history books. Okay, this is where the story really goes supernova. The first major sign that something huge was happening came in 2017. BTS won Top Social Artist at the Billboard Music Awards. Not only were they the first K-pop group to ever do it, but get this, they broke a 6-year winning streak held by Justin Bieber. The industry was stunned. But how they won is the real story here. It was pure, unfiltered fan power. ARMY cast over 300 million votes to make that happen. All of a sudden, the media around the world woke up and realized, okay, this isn't just a fan club, this is a massive, organized, global movement. And from there, the momentum just exploded. The very next year, they put out an album that was about to do something that pretty much everyone thought was impossible for an act singing in Korean. Love Yourself Tear hit #1 on the US Billboard 200 chart. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. An album performed almost completely in Korean was the #1 best-selling album in America. This wasn't just a win for K-pop. It completely changed the game for non-English music everywhere. And then, just to prove they could do it all, came Dynamite in 2020. It was their first all-English song, and it shot straight to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, which is arguably the toughest, most competitive singles chart in the world. They showed everyone they could dominate in any language. But pretty quickly, the story of BTS became about so much more than just music charts and sales figures. They really evolved into something else entirely, a genuine global force that was starting to have a major impact on culture, on diplomacy, and even on the economy of an entire country. One of the biggest things they did was completely flip the script on the traditional K-pop idol model. Where the system was often seen as super strict and regimented, BTS fought for their own individuality. They insisted on having real input into their music and lyrics, and they talked to their fans constantly and directly. They basically tore down that wall that usually exists between pop stars and their audience. And their impact became so huge you could actually measure it on a national level. We're talking about an estimated $5 billion being pumped into South Korea's economy every single year because of them. That's about 0.5% of the country's entire GDP. Think about that, one band having that much economic power. So with that kind of economic muscle, it's no surprise they started taking on these massive cultural and diplomatic roles. They became the youngest people to ever receive South Korea's Order of Cultural Merit. They were named special presidential envoys. They've spoken at the UN multiple times, and they even visited the White House to speak out against anti-Asian hate. They became true global ambassadors. And that brings us right up to today, to their newest chapter. After a temporary break for all the members to complete their mandatory military service, which, by the way, is a period that could have easily ended other groups, they have officially reunited, and they're ready to start their next era. So that just leaves us with one massive question. They've already changed the music industry, they've become global ambassadors, they've built one of the most powerful fandoms in the history of pop culture. With the new album and a world tour already in the works, you just have to wonder, what on earth could the next chapter for the biggest band in the world possibly look like?